Psychology of people who avoid crowds. Crowds are loud, unpredictable, and full of hidden emotional signals. And for many people, that's not just uncomfortable, it's exhausting. Today we're breaking down the real psychology behind people who avoid crowds. Not stereotypes, not assumptions, just the science, the personality patterns, and the lived reality of why some minds simply function better in calm, controlled environments. Number 1. The brain and the nervous system. For a lot of people who avoid crowds, this preference starts at the biological level. Their nervous system is simply more reactive to stimulation, noise, movement, sudden changes, even the emotional temperature of a room. When they walk into a packed bar or a buzzing concert hall, their brain isn't just scanning the environment casually, it's working overtime, processing dozens of signals at once. And the human brain, even at its best, has limits. This is where sensory overload kicks in. The heart beats faster, the shoulders tense up, and the mind shifts from engage to protect. What feels like excitement or fun for others can feel like pressure for them, a heavy, invisible weight on the nervous system that makes their energy drain fast. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that introverted or highly sensitive people tend to have stronger activity in brain regions tied to attention, internal processing, and self-reflection. That means their inner world is already running rich and full. When a crowded environment adds more stimulation on top, it's easy to hit a tipping point. Meanwhile, extroverts often experience the same environment as energizing because their reward circuits respond differently. In everyday life, this is why a quiet coffee shop, a long walk, or even a solo car ride can feel deeply restorative. These moments give their brain room, literal mental space, to recover. On the flip side, loud parties, busy malls, or dense crowds don't recharge them at all. They drain them. And this isn't about being dramatic or unfriendly. It's simply how their nervous system works. People who avoid crowds aren't antisocial. Many actually love people, just not all at once. Their brain needs calm to function at its best, and respecting that need is often what keeps them grounded, regulated, and emotionally stable. Number 2. Personality, introversion, and the need for depth. People often assume that avoiding crowds means someone is shy or socially awkward, but that's usually not true. In many cases, it's simply personality. Introverted and highly sensitive individuals naturally gravitate toward environments where conversations have space to breathe, where they can think before speaking, and connect with others without noise competing for their attention. Crowded environments tend to reward quick reactions, loud voices, and surface-level interactions. But introverted personalities run on depth. They want meaning, not volume. They thrive in one-on-one conversations, slow-paced hangouts, quiet dinners, or small group gatherings where people take turns instead of shouting over each other. When they avoid a packed club or a busy networking event, they're not rejecting people. They're avoiding a mode of interaction that feels unnatural and draining. American culture often celebrates extroversion, being bold, being outspoken, working the room, constantly networking. In that kind of environment, someone who prefers smaller spaces can be misunderstood. Others may misread them as aloof, disinterested, or even too serious. But internally, they're just managing their energy with intention. It's not that they don't want to connect, it's that they want connection that feels real. These individuals usually form fewer friendships, but those friendships are incredibly strong. They attend fewer events, but the ones they show up for matter to them. They may skip big parties, but they'll pour their heart into meaningful conversations with the people they care about. And for them, emotional fulfillment doesn't come from groups. It comes from depth and authenticity. Crowd avoidance in this context isn't fear-based, it's preference-based. A quiet corner of a room is where they think best, listen best, and feel most like themselves. Number 3. Fear and mental health factors. Not everyone avoids crowds because of personality. For some, the driver is fear, especially social anxiety or more specific phobias like inoculophobia, the fear of being surrounded by too many people. In these cases, the mind interprets crowds as a potential threat, not because the person is weak or fragile, but because the brain is wired to expect danger, embarrassment, or loss of control. In social anxiety, the fear centers around judgment. The person imagines eyes on them, criticism forming in someone's mind, or the possibility of making a mistake and being remembered for it. The fear is internal, but the avoidance becomes external. So they skip parties, sit out weddings, avoid shopping malls, or feel panic building in places where escape feels difficult. Phobias related to crowds can also be rooted in physical fear. What if something happens and I can't get out? What if I panic in front of everyone? What if I'm trapped? Even when the environment is safe, the body reacts as if it's not. Psychologists highlight a crucial difference here. Introverts avoid crowds because they feel drained. People with social anxiety avoid crowds because they feel unsafe. One is about energy. The other is about fear. When avoidance is fear-driven, it tends to grow. The more someone avoids, the more intimidating crowds become. Work meetings feel terrifying. Family events feel overwhelming. Even simple errands can trigger stress. Over time, life shrinks, opportunities shrink, and relationships shrink because the fear is in control. Understanding this difference matters. It keeps us compassionate and prevents us from mislabeling what someone is going through. And for many people, recognizing the fear is the first step toward regaining control. Number 4, personal space and the need for control. People who avoid crowds often share one powerful psychological trait: a higher than average need for personal space and a sense of control over their environment. This isn't about being rigid or picky. It's about being able to think, move, and breathe without feeling crowded, physically or emotionally. In a packed room, your personal bubble shrinks instantly. Strangers brush past you. Conversations blur together. You can't predict who will move where or what sudden noise might erupt next. For many people, this is mildly annoying. For crowd-avoidant individuals, it triggers a stress response. The body tightens, the senses heighten, and the mind starts scanning for exits or quiet corners. This is why they instinctively choose aisle seats, stay near doors, stand at the edges of gatherings, or shop at hours when stores are half empty. It's not avoidance for the sake of avoidance. It's strategy. They're creating the space they need to stay calm and present. Psychologically, this is closely tied to the feeling of control. Not control in a dominating or controlling others way, but simply having enough autonomy to manage sensory input and emotional pressure. When that control disappears, like in crowded trains, tight restaurants, or chaotic festivals, their nervous system shifts into a defensive mode. It's the brain saying, too much is happening at once. I can't regulate this. American life doesn't always make room for this need. Cities are busy, workplaces are collaborative, social events are often loud and packed. So people who need more personal space end up adapting quietly. They sit on the edge of the meeting table, take the long route to avoid clusters of people, or arrive early to claim the comfortable spot. These behaviors aren't quirks. They're protective mechanisms that help them function at their best. When someone avoids crowds because they value space and control, it's not about rejecting others. It's about preserving their mental and emotional bandwidth. And in many cases, honoring this need is what allows them to show up more genuinely in the interactions that truly matter to them. Number 5. Growing up, past experiences, and culture. Avoidance of crowds often begins long before adulthood. Childhood experiences shape how the brain interprets social environments. Someone who grew up in a chaotic home, where noise meant conflict or unpredictability, may develop a lifelong association between a lot of activity and potential danger. Others who were bullied, overwhelmed in school hallways, or embarrassed in public may carry those memories into adulthood without realizing it. The brain learns through repetition. If being around many people consistently created stress, the brain eventually labels crowds as a threat. And once that belief is set, avoiding crowds becomes the easiest way to keep anxiety low. The more the person avoids, the stronger the habit becomes. This is why some adults say, "I don't know why I hate crowded places, I just always have." Often the root is buried deep in early life. Culture plays an equally powerful role. In American society, being outgoing is praised. Speaking loudly, networking confidently, attending big events, these behaviors are seen as strengths. Meanwhile, preferring quiet spaces is sometimes judged as strange, antisocial, or unfriendly. That cultural pressure can push crowd-avoidant people into hiding parts of themselves, or worse, feeling ashamed of their natural preferences. But when viewed through psychology, most of these behaviors are completely normal. They reflect nervous system wiring, not character flaws. They reflect personal boundaries, not rejection of others. They reflect emotional safety, not weakness. The truth is, many people who avoid crowds are simply protecting their mental health in the way that works for them, whether because of their biology, their personality, or their past. And once society understands this better, the world becomes a more comfortable place for all kinds of minds, not just the loudest ones. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.